Minister, Madam Speaker, to pause here to indicate the extent to which there are safeguards written into this regulation to protect the interests of the disability, persons with disability, and also to make sure that the Act serves the purpose for which it's intended and be transparent. The application is to be supported by the reasons that the applicant believes: 1, the person is to be so registered, the certificate should be renewed, or the certificate should not be revoked. The review is to be conducted by a panel appointed by the minister comprising a representative of an organization relating to the disability concerned. So you can't just pick up somebody to go and do a review that has no experience in dealing and understanding the disability that you are reviewing. A registered medical practitioner or a specialist trained in diagnosing and treating the disability concerned, and a representative of the Ministry with responsibility for health nominated by the Permanent Secretary. The review by the panel is to be completed within 60 days after the Minister receives the application. If the review cannot be completed within 60-day period, then it is to be completed within such longer time as is reasonably practical. The panel is to communicate its decision to the Council, again in writing. Thereafter, the Council is required to serve a copy of the panel's decision on the applicant within 10 days of receipt of same. This period is exclusive of Saturdays, Sundays, and public holidays. If the panel decides that the application for registration should be approved, the Council must enter the particulars of the person with a disability in the register and issue a certificate of registration to the applicant. If the decision of the panel is that the certificate should be renewed, the Council is mandated to review the certificate. Similarly, where the decision of the panel is that the certificate should not be revoked, the Council is required to restore the certificate. However, the validity period of the restored certificate shall be 5 years from the date on which the certificate was originally issued. Notification of a subsequent disability. Regulation 7 requires a person with a disability or that person's caregiver to notify the Council in writing of any secondary or subsequent disability acquired after registration or renewal of the certificate. The date of appropriate date that the secondary or subsequent disabilities are acquired or confirmed, the nature of the disability and the type of disability that is to be provided. Lost, stolen, or destroyed certificates. By virtue of Regulation 12, the Council shall issue a new certificate where the person with a disability satisfied the Council that the original certificate was lost, stolen, or destroyed. Any certificate issued in this regard will be void from the date of the original certificate when it was issued. It is important to recall that Section 38 of the Disabilities Act provides for the lessee to submit a written request in the prescribed manner to the lessor or the premises of the premises and receive his or her written consent before making alterations to the premises. Regulation 13 establishes the Form 5 Part A to be used in making the request. It also provides for the lessee to submit a drawing, a plan, specifications, and other documents prepared and signed by the appropriate building practitioner, outlining the proposed alterations to be made. This is very important because anything to do with the accommodation of a disabled person must take into consideration their physical environment, the environment in which they have to live. The lessee is required to communicate his or her consent in part B of Form 5. And imposition of charges. Section 6 of the Disabilities Act empowers the Council, with the support of the Minister, to impose charges for facilities or services made available by the Council for any purpose. The Council is required to publish notice of the charges to be imposed, to be in the Gazette. Regulation 15 covers this particular provision. Charges may be imposed for an application for registration in accordance with Regulation 3, renewal of certificate pursuant to Regulation 6, and replacement of lost, stolen, or destroyed certificate in keeping with Regulation 12. Madam Speaker, all ideas must conform with our democratic way of doing things. I'm proud to lead the debate that will now follow. The detailed analysis of the situation and the work done by the legal team has made it a simple task for anyone wishing to rebut what is here. It is clear that we are ready to have this matter brought into force. As we champion the cause of persons with disabilities, I look forward with great expectation to the contribution of my colleagues in this honorable House, and I hope that they will all be constructive. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, the Disabilities Act, which was passed under the last PNP administration, was one of the most significant pieces of legislation to be passed in Jamaica in this millennium. It really sought to bring Jamaica's domestic law into compliance with the UN Convention for the protection of persons with disabilities. And Jamaica was, I think, the first signatory to that convention, which was a symbolically significant act at the time. And I want to use this opportunity to publicly commend Senator Floyd Morris, who was then a Minister of State in the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, and played a significant and important role in getting Jamaica to a place where it was first in line to sign that important UN convention. The Act itself took significant work to get ready and to get passed. And when it was passed, it was always anticipated that it wouldn't be brought into effect for a couple of years, because the main thing was there's some codes that needed to be developed, but also to afford owners of buildings, both in the public sector and the private sector, to make necessary modifications to ensure access to persons with disabilities. That's a very important aspect of enhancing the rights and amenities available to persons with disabilities, because the question of access is real. The absence of ramps for persons with physical disabilities, rails on which they can hold, elevators for buildings with more than one story, and so on. These are very important issues. This building that we're in now is not friendly to the disabled. It's very difficult for persons with disabilities to come upstairs. There's no elevator. And when we were last in office, I initiated an intervention with the University of Carleton, I think it's called, in Canada, which is an institution with a leading program on accessibility rights for disabled persons. And with the UTech, University of Technology of Jamaica Architectural Department, we had this building carefully examined. A team came down from the University of Carleton, a team from UTech, and I think even the UDC were involved at the time, if my memory serves me correctly, and they came with a series of proposals as to what might be done to make the Parliament more accessible to persons with disabilities. And unfortunately, I've not seen any progress made in that regard. This is about 7 years ago that happened, and the building remains more or less as it was then, which is a disappointing thing, because I think for a Parliament not to take the necessary steps that are to ensure that disabled persons can come here and listen to what's being debated and to see for themselves what is happening is really an indictment on our Parliament. And I would urge the government to revisit that, because I know there are plans, of course, to build this marvelous new Parliament in the green space at Heroes Circle. But pending that happening, we are here in this garden house, and we ought to do what we can to make it accessible. I'm not sure to what extent the necessary adjustments have been made in, for example, public sector owned buildings to ensure access for persons with disabilities. I would have liked the Minister to give us a report on that. I'm hoping that we have seen significant steps, and it's quite apparent that there has been plenty of time for it to be done, because at the time we passed this act, we had anticipated a 2-year period before bringing it into effect. We have now, I think, gone nearly 7 years. It's still not in effect, but at least the Minister has announced a date next February 2022 when he intends to bring it into effect. I would just like to know the state of readiness in terms of the preparations around the practical matters that affect persons with disabilities. And access is a crucial aspect of that. Access in every sense of the word. Access, physical access to buildings, being able to use bathroom facilities comfortably, being able to get upstairs where offices are upstairs. These are all very important things. The fact of the matter is that the community of persons with disabilities is one of the most disadvantaged communities in Jamaica. Very high levels of unemployment. Often they live in very difficult circumstances. Their mobility is very challenged. And Jamaica is not a very forgiving place for persons with disabilities. And the legislation that was passed is designed in part to change those attitudes, to make us more compassionate and understanding of the needs of persons with disabilities and to ensure them full citizenship in their own country. And there's a sort of mental shift that needs to take place for that to be achieved. This is a matter somewhat dear to me because I grew up around persons with disabilities. My father was one of the founders of what is now the Sir John Golding Rehab Center after the polio epidemic in the 1950s. And he was in charge of that facility from its inception till his death in 1996. And as a child, I used to spend a lot of time there. Christmas, we also have Christmas parties there for the patients. The member across there for, is it Northwest Clarendon? Yes. His uncle or cousin, an uncle, was very involved as well, Sammy Henriquez, and was my godfather. And my exposure to sports, for example, basketball, I didn't know that able-bodied people played basketball until I was a teenager, because the basketball I saw as a child growing up was persons in wheelchairs playing basketball, and they were, of course, very skillful. But not a wide range of field events, archery, javelin, track, and of course the Jamaica Paralympic Association now exists, and we continue to send teams to participate in the area of sports, Minister. Up to this year, I think we were participating in the Paralympics in Japan. So this is an area which I have a great interest in. I'm chairman of a foundation that supports persons with physical disabilities in Jamaica. We have workshops that make special shoes. We have workshops that fix calipers and other devices for persons with disabilities. And we have a prosthetics workshop which makes prostheses for persons who lose their limbs. And this is very significant. We have a bindery and of course hospital facilities for persons who need hospital care. We have a limb clinic at least once a month for persons who have had amputations. And an issue which I want to raise today, Minister, is the whole question of the cost of prostheses for persons who have suffered amputations. There was a time when we made those prostheses, lower limb prostheses, above and below knee, at the rehab center on our own, and we heavily subsidized the cost. But it was very difficult for us to sustain that, and eventually a decision was made to outsource it to the private sector using the workshop that we had reconditioned. We had the workshop refurbished using the expertise of persons from the University of Salford in the United Kingdom who came and did a proper architectural design of the workshop, and we reconditioned it, and it's really an excellent workshop now for the manufacture of prostheses. And we introduced the modular system of making limbs. We had what we still call a traditional system, which is what was in vogue in the 1960s. But since then, the technology has moved on, and we now have what we call modular prostheses that we make as well. But the costs, Minister, for persons with disabilities, or for persons who have suffered an amputation, are very high. It's several $100,000 to purchase a prosthesis, and if it's an above knee, it's even more. And Minister, unfortunately, the nature of our society is that the accidents and gunshot victims and so on often are persons from the lower socioeconomic groupings, and many people struggle to afford a prosthesis. The Combined Disabilities Association does assist, but I don't think the levels of assistance are where they need to be. And this is an area I think that perhaps the ministry could look at, maybe creating a fund that would support, because nobody plans to lose a limb. The vicissitudes of life are such that this can happen to any one of us on any given day. And if it happens and we want to be able to walk again using an artificial limb, a prosthesis, it is really painful to think that the cost of it might be prohibitive from allowing an individual to benefit from the rehabilitation of their life through access to a prosthesis. So Minister, I commend that to you, something I'd ask that you look into. I think it would be a very important provision to be made, further assistance for the purchase of prostheses for persons who need them. But overall, Minister, this is something that has really taken too long to bring into effect. These regulations are largely bureaucratic. They're all about how you register as a person with disabilities. And, I'm just kind of shuddering to think what, for some of the people with disabilities who I know up at the rehab center, for them to have to even comply with these requirements is going to be challenging for many of them. So I don't know how much further this will take us, though I realize that registration is part of the legislative system that we have. But far more important to me are the issues of access and the issues of training and employment opportunities and educational opportunities that are provided to children with disabilities in particular, and access to connectivity and devices for the children who are disabled and can't easily move around and have to attend school virtually, especially now. These are the real issues that persons with disabilities grapple with. And it's a substantial part of our population, because of course it's a spectrum. I mean, there are levels of disability from relatively minor things to very grave levels of disability. And as you have read from the regulations themselves, there are many different types of disability. I mean, blindness, deafness, hard of hearing, physical disability, mental illness, intellectual disability, developmental disability, speech, and visual impairment of some types that are listed in these regulations. So, you know, the whole question of making this piece of legislation live and breathe, making it have an impact on our society, creating a better quality of life for the community of persons with disabilities. These are very important things. These are the things why we passed that legislation. These are the things why Jamaica was the first to sign the UN Convention for persons with disabilities. And we really want to see it move forward with a lot of energy and enthusiasm and rally the society behind it. And Minister, you have significant capacity to do that. I know that you are a man who has tremendous experience in mobilization and tremendous enthusiasm and a heart of gold for the vulnerable in this society. So I urge you, Minister, to really make this a showpiece of your remaining time as a minister, which, you know, we don't anticipate will go beyond this term, but certainly it will, there's ample time for you to leave your mark for the persons with disabilities in the country, Minister. And if you do that, you will have my full support and my deepest thanks in memory of my father, Professor John Golding, to whom this would have meant a very great deal. And I thank you, Minister, for bringing it, and I urge you to move forward with it with a new level of alacrity, a new level of enthusiasm and energy, and deliver for the community of persons with disabilities what they have their hopes and dreams invested in, that Jamaica will indeed, as part of our 2030 goals and motto, slogan, that their community will be very much part of the Jamaica we're trying to create. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I thank the Leader of the Opposition for those complimentary words and words of support. I would, as you mentioned, my enthusiasm and my commitment to assisting especially disabled and persons with disability and, of course, the poor and needy of this country. I think, honestly, it can only be matched by the same passion that I have discerned from someone who I have known for many years and is now the opposition spokesman for the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, Senator Dr. Floyd Morris. I want to thank him for his support. I want to thank him for his commitment and his guidance. And now that he has been elevated to a bigger job, a world caliber job, I know that he's going to give all his energies to assist persons with disabilities worldwide, but with greatest emphasis on those who are affected in this region. So I accept that wholeheartedly. The matter of the building codes, we have addressed 3 of what I believe are a total of 6 codes. And that, of course, waits until the bill is brought into effect. Now that the date has been set and will be done, then through the JCPD, we will be able to put together and formulate concrete policies that can be acted upon through the legislation, through the provisions of this legislation. Nothing could be done without the regulations. Now that the regulations will be approved, then they are free to act without the constraints of any legal sort of impediments. Madam Speaker, in addition, I'd like to mention that during a period of transition, Section 50 speaks to the period of transition between bringing into effect the law and the regulations to support the Act and the date on which these things are to be handled and necessary plans put in place through the JCPD to effect the changes necessary to the buildings that are now being constructed and those who have been constructed to be altered to satisfy the needs of the persons with disabilities so that they don't continue to struggle every time they want to enter a building to do business or to visit people and so on. I see many times, and I lament the fact that there are many circumstances when I drive through and see the new construction, the new style of buildings, where just to simply get from a vehicle to the house and inside the house is an obstacle course for them, something that makes it very challenging for them to participate like everybody else. What we are seeking to do with this legislation is to allow and facilitate persons with disabilities so that they can live a full life and participate at a level equivalent to those without disabilities. That is the objective, the ultimate objective. And so, Leader of the Opposition, you can be quite assured that no stone will be left unturned. I share the commitment that you have, and I want to emphasize the fact that I have met since going into the Ministry of Labour and Social Security a team of people committed, equally committed to improving the quality of life for persons with disabilities. And I join them, and everything together, we will work together as a team to ensure that when we shall have completed it, we can stand proudly and say that we are continuing with our efforts started years ago, as you mentioned. I knew your father well. I've been to him for a problem I had with yes, I knew him very well. And he was a very fine man, I must tell you. Such a pity you didn't take after him more, but a wonderful man. My God. I thought the chip crowd don't fall far from the block, but boy, I don't know where you flew from. You took off. Anyway, he was a very lovely man, and so was your mother. I used to visit you in your home in the college common. So there's a commonality there, and certainly in terms of the expression of and his concern for persons with disabilities. And you know, Madam Speaker, I would never stand. I enjoy this kind of moment because it gives me an opportunity to express our gratitude for people. His father never took a salary. Professor Golding gave more to Jamaica than you can imagine. As I say, we will work together on this. There should be no divide. There should be no division of thought, action, or posture of any kind. And therefore, Madam Speaker, I now move that the regulations be approved.
The question before the House is that the regulations, the motion be approved. Those in favour? Those against? The ayes have it. Minister Shaw.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, take this one. Take this one. Madam Speaker, as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Prime Minister, Most Honorable Andrew Holness, has made numerous orders under the Disaster Risk Management Act to protect the health and safety of Jamaicans. The Disaster Risk Management Enforcement Measures Orders 2021 includes a restriction on public gatherings and requires persons to maintain various distances apart from each other in such gatherings. These restrictions prevented many companies from holding annual general meetings within 15 months of their last meeting, as mandated by Section 126, subsection 1 of the Companies Act. Since many companies had more than the permitted number of shareholders, those companies were therefore unable to hold in-person general meetings in compliance with the Act. And this posed the possibility of sanctions being imposed. Considering the above, a decision was taken to amend the Companies Act so as to strengthen the existing legislation in order to provide for the holding of any general meeting, such as an annual general meeting or an extraordinary general meeting, as a virtual-only meeting, completely electronic, or a hybrid meeting, a combination of in-person and virtual, where this is not expressly prohibited by the articles of a company. The second objective was to empower the Registrar of Companies to grant an extension of time for the holding of an annual general meeting on the application of a director of a company or any member who is entitled to vote at the meeting, where an order has been made under the Disaster Risk Management Act, or a proclamation has been made by the Governor General declaring a period of public disaster or a period of public emergency under Section 20 of the Constitution of Jamaica. And thirdly, Madam Speaker, provide for conditions necessary for the holding of hybrid meetings or completely electronic meetings, which ensures participation of all members in attendance. So, Madam Speaker, by way of a clause-by-clause analysis of the amendments, the clause 1, this clause provides for the short title of the Act and directs that the Act should be read in conjunction with the Companies Act and all amendments thereto. Clause 2, which is an amendment to Section 2 of the Principal Act. This clause inserts the meaning to be assigned to certain additional key terms used throughout the bill, which includes electronic, electronic communication system, hybrid meeting, in-person meeting, virtual-only meeting. The clause further amends this section by inserting a new subsection 10, which allows for persons to be present at a general meeting and cast votes by hybrid or virtual-only means, and such person shall count to constitute the quorum. Further, subsection 11 is also inserted to stipulate that the provisions of the Act shall apply to hybrid and virtual-only meetings with any necessary modification. Clause 3, Madam Speaker, which is an amendment to Section 130 of the Principal Act. This amendment permits persons to attend and participate in meetings, including voting, by both in-person and electronic means. Clause 4, insertion of new sections 133A, 133B, 133C, 133D, 133E, and 133F in the Principal Act. 133A, in which companies may hold virtual-only or hybrid meetings. This section allows a company to hold hybrid or virtual-only meetings if it is satisfied that the attendees will be able to attend and fully participate in the meeting. Section 133B, hybrid and virtual-only meeting of same effect as in-person meeting. This section provides that a hybrid or virtual-only meeting shall have full effect as if the said meeting was held in Jamaica as an in-person meeting. This provision will not be applicable if the virtual-only or hybrid meeting is not conducted in a manner to enable the full participation and communication between all attendees. Section 133C, proceedings for hybrid and virtual-only meetings. This section allows for any document, including the notice of the meeting, to be delivered by electronic means in the case of a hybrid or virtual-only meeting, and states what is required to be included in the notice. Section 133D, verification of identity of attendees. This section provides that the company shall establish procedures and restrictions to secure the conduct of the business of the hybrid or virtual-only meeting, including the verification of attendees and participatory acts such as voting. Section 133E, which is effect on the quorum of inability to participate in hybrid or virtual-only meeting. This section provides that where a hybrid or virtual-only meeting is being held by a company, and during the meeting attendees cease to be able to participate in the meeting in such numbers to the effect that the quorum is not met, the chairman shall adjourn the meeting to a date and time agreed by the attendees who are able to fully participate, unless the disconnected attendees are reconnected within a reasonable time. Section 133F, Madam Speaker, application for extension of time for holding annual general meeting. This section allows companies which are not able to hold their annual general meeting as a result of an order made under Section 26 subsection 2 of the Disaster Risk Management Act, declaring the area in which the meeting is to be held to be a disaster area or a threatened area, or a proclamation under Section 20 of the Constitution of Jamaica, declaring a period of public disaster or a period of public emergency, to make an application to the Registrar of Companies for an extension of time to hold the meeting. Madam Speaker, Clause 5, which is an amendment of the first schedule, in Table A, which provides for companies limited by shares, has been amended as follows. Insertion of new Article 47A. This article provides for companies to now include the holding of annual general meetings by electronic means in their articles of incorporation. Amendment to Article 50. The amendment provides that the notice of annual general meetings may be served by electronic means in writing and states when it is deemed to be served. Amendment to Article 53. The article is amended by including a new subsection 2 to stipulate that a person participating in the meeting by electronic means is to count towards the quorum constituting the meeting. Insertion of Article 61A. The article provides other methods of voting where a hybrid or virtual only meeting is held, unless voting by poll is demanded. An amendment to Article 131, the amendment allows for the service of a notice for a meeting by electronic communication means, including by facsimile transmission or by email with the written consent of the members and in accordance with requirements for the service of the notice. Table B, Madam Speaker, which provides for companies limited by guarantee and not having a share capital, has been amended as follows. Insertion of Article 8A. The article allows companies to now include the holding of annual general meetings by electronic means in their articles of incorporation. Insertion of Article 11A and 11B. Article 11A provides that the notice of annual general meetings may be served by electronic means in writing and states when the notice is deemed to be served. Article 11B provides for the service of notices for general meetings personally, by post or by electronic means, including by facsimile transmission or by email, and states when the notice is deemed to be served. Amendment to Article 14. The article is amended by including a subsection 2 to stipulate that a person participating in the meeting by electronic means is to count towards the quorum constituting the meeting. An insertion of Article 23A. This article provides other methods of voting where a hybrid or virtual only meeting is held, unless voting by poll is demanded. And Madam Speaker, Clause 6 refers to the insertion of new 17th schedule. The 17th schedule provides for a Form 26 to be used by companies to make an application for the extension of time for the holding of an annual general meeting, where an order made under Section 26, subsection 2 of the Disaster Risk Management Act, declaring the area in which the meeting is to be held to be a disaster area or a threatened area, or a proclamation under Section 20 of the Constitution of Jamaica declaring a period of public disaster or a period of public emergency pursuant to the new Section 133F. And Madam Speaker, under the Memorandum of Objects and Reasons, was incorporated in the bill to provide the rationale for the amendments to the Act. So essentially, Madam Speaker, as I close my presentation, the primary and overarching purpose of these amendments is to be able to accommodate the difficulties and the unprecedented nature of the time that we're operating in, and therefore to allow companies to continue to be able to abide by the rules in order to, and this allows them to have either completely virtual meetings or part virtual and part in-person meetings. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, the legislation, the amendments before us are non-contentious. They really provide for, critically, for situations where there's a public emergency or public disaster or some threatened disasters under the Constitution or in respect of the Disaster Risk Management Act. And critically, Madam Speaker, these amendments are really necessary and urgent, because in the interim, individual companies whose annual general meetings are due will have had to go case by case to the registrar to ask for exemption. In a situation where you have such wide-scale disasters we have experienced during this pandemic, it really calls for a mechanism to allow for a general management of the situation. And the amendments here allows for that to happen, providing the specific means by which companies operate. And the consequences, Madam Speaker, are quite significant. It legitimizes the acts of companies that need to take far-reaching decisions that will affect the economy and the investment prospects of companies individually. So the matter is urgent, it's supportable, and we have no objection to it, Madam Speaker, and we support these amendments fully. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, just a quick contribution. Minister, just to make the point that the Companies Act 2004, which this is amending, provided from then for directors' meetings to be held virtually by electronic means, provided that the articles of the company so allowed. And that has worked perfectly well for the 16, 17 years since that act was passed. What we're dealing with here is shareholder meetings, of course, which are typically bigger meetings for public companies. And provisions didn't exist for that. And we know that companies, especially listed companies, have had to be jumping through hoops to try and accommodate their legal obligations at the same time as having to comply with the gathering limits in the orders made by the Prime Minister under the Disaster Risk Management Act. And opinions have been issued and applications to the court have been made and so on to facilitate some kind of compliance in a situation which really wasn't designed to address the realities in which we're living. So this legislation is important because it allows for virtual meetings or hybrid meetings to take place. It's a little different from how the director's provision is, because the director's provision allows directors' meetings to be held virtually if the articles so allow. And many companies amended their articles to so allow, or new companies typically are formed with a provision which enables that. This doesn't require the articles to allow it. This allows hybrid or virtual meetings unless the articles don't allow it. In other words, it would have to be something that would be breaching the articles. And in that case, I assume a company might be minded to amend its articles so as to allow it. But in most cases, the articles will probably be silent on that issue. And therefore, it ought to work. I mean, the only thing I would say is that it might have been useful in the provision which deals with the fact that the meetings can proceed. The meetings can proceed unless the articles say otherwise. And that is, let me just find it quickly, Minister. Yes, unless the articles of a company otherwise provide, a company may hold a general meeting as a virtual only meeting or a hybrid meeting. I think maybe it would have been good to make it clear that it is only if the articles expressly preclude hybrid or virtual meetings that it would be deemed to otherwise provide. Why I'm saying that is because typically existing articles and Table A itself will contemplate, are written in a way that contemplates a physical meeting. Mm-hmm. And you don't want any ambiguity around whether that is sufficient to be deemed to otherwise provide. I think the intent is that you can have hybrid meetings, you can have virtual meetings unless the articles specifically disallow it. And it's not quite worded that way. I would have liked to have seen it be a bit more definitive about that, because I don't want any further confusion, after we pass this, as to whether or not the existing articles have to be amended to allow this. Because I think the intent is that they should not. It should just go into effect immediately, unless the specific articles say you cannot have a virtual meeting or a hybrid meeting. And some companies may want to do that. I can't understand why they would, but it's open to them to do that if they so choose. So I'm just saying that's maybe something that could be considered. Maybe when it goes to the Senate, the technical people could look at that and see if some stronger language could just eliminate that ambiguity, if there is one. But it's a thought that crossed my mind. The other issue I want to raise with you, Minister, is not really to do with this bill, but it's to do with the International Companies Bill that your Minister Vaz, when he was responsible for commerce, I think, he had tabled it here. And I had provided him with some written comments, having done an analysis of the bill. And I know those were shared with the GIFSA, I'm not sure that falls under your ministry. Does GIFSA fall under you, the Jamaica International Financial Services Authority? No. Okay, well, Minister Clark maybe, or maybe it's the Prime Minister. But there's a companies bill that I would like to see brought back as soon as possible, because I think it's very important that we pass that to round out the suite of legislation. So much effort has been put into trying to get GIFSA going. And we've passed two complex and large partnership acts, the Limited Partnership Act and the General Partnership Act. We've passed legislation for corporate service providers, which is being amended by a bill tabled by the Minister of Finance because of the whole money laundering compliance issues that he's grappling with. But a lot of effort has gone into, there's also the Trust Act that was passed, which deals with that. But the companies thing is the main thing, really, because most persons who operate commercially do so through companies. So the International Companies Act, whatever it's called, we had done a bill when I was Minister of Justice. We had almost completed it. It was very lengthy, and we had taken it through legislation committee. We didn't quite finish when the elections were called, but that bill got shelved subsequently, and a completely different approach was taken under the new government. And it's a somewhat simplified approach, and I think there's a lot to commend it. But there were some issues which I had pointed out, but I'd really very much like to see that legislation come back here, because we can't have an effective international financial services sector without legislation that, for example, allows for the migration of companies to Jamaica that may want to set up here, that exist abroad, if we're competing in that space. And as I understand it, we're not competing on a tax advantaged basis. We're not, as I understand it, the Minister of Finance would know what the current thinking is, but when I last spoke to the GIFSA people, they made it clear that we're not contemplating any kind of fiscal incentives for GIFSA, but we're really going on the fact that we have other advantages that we offer people who may want to set up their trusts or their companies here, to do international business, the standard of our professional support for those entities, for example, and hopefully this ease with which we handle the bureaucracy, though many of us may wonder if that will be achieved, but we don't have a great reputation for that. But it's going to be very important that the bureaucratic support for the GIFSA entities is very user-friendly, client-friendly, and that it doesn't end up being problematic for persons, who have documents being bounced for this reason and that reason, and no consistency in the way in which these things are approached, which is a problem with our existing Companies Office, in my humble opinion. But, so Minister, I'm asking you, please make an inquiry from me about that and see if we can fast-track it back into the House, because it's a very critical part of the suite, and a lot of work went into getting us to this point, but we're still not there yet. And that piece of legislation is one of the main outstanding items. Thank you. Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me thank the members for their comments. And just to say in my very brief response to the specific points raised by the leader of the opposition, I think he has made a good suggestion, and we will consider the recommendation that is proposed. We'll look at specifically at 130. Subsection 3. We'll take a look at it, arrange to have it looked at in the Senate so that it will be more specific in what it prohibits and what it allows. Thank you for that recommendation. And in relation to the International Companies Act, while it is not under my portfolio, your comments are valid, and it is something we have to pursue more aggressively. And certainly, although it's not under my portfolio, it is very much relevant to my ministries. So I give you also the undertaking that I will be following up with, I think, the Prime Minister's office in dealing with that matter. So, Madam Speaker, I wish now to ask that the bill be read a second time.
The question before the House is that the bill be read a second time. Those in favour? Those against? The ayes have it.
A bill entitled An Act to Amend the Companies Act read a second time.
The House may now resolve itself into a committee of the whole House to consider the bill clause by clause. Members of the committee, I now put clause 1. Those in favour? I put clause 2. Those in favour? I put clause 3. Those in favor? I put clause 4. Those in favor? I put clause 6. Those in favor? I now put the title and the enacting clause. 5. I put clause 5. Those in favor? And I put clause 6. Those in favor? I now put the title and the enacting clause. Those in favor? Madam, Mr. Minister? No. Before, put it on.
Question is? No, is it? Madam Speaker, I now ask that the bill be read a third time. Madam Speaker, I now ask that the bill be read a third time.
Madam Clerk. The question is that I report the bill as having passed committee stage without amendment. Those in favor?
A bill entitled An Act to Amend the Companies Act read a third time and passed.
Yeah.
So, Madam Speaker, we now move to the exciting and interesting side of today's sitting, when we will hear from the members of Parliament detailing us on the needs of their constituency, but most importantly, giving this House an account of their stewardship. So may I please you, Madam Speaker, to invite the first speaker, the Honourable Omar Davis, the member for St. James Southern.
Madam Speaker, let me ask your permission to speak from
Permission is granted,
position.
Minister.
Thank you very much. Jamaica's international recording artist, James Chambers, known to everyone as Jimmy Cliff, in one of his many songs, said, "You can get it if you really want." But you must try and try. You will succeed at last. Madam Speaker, today I rise to address this honorable House as someone who knows only too well what it means to try and try and try before succeeding at last. Madam Speaker, I rise to address this honorable House not on my own volition, but on the shoulders of the wonderful people of Southern St. James, who gave me a resounding mandate on September the 3rd, 2020 general election. My victory, Madam Speaker, which not only placed me in the House of Representatives, but resulted in my appointment as Minister of State in the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. Today, Madam Speaker, as I make my contribution to the State of the Constituency debate, I express heartfelt gratitude to everyone in my constituency who played a role in the process of getting me elected as Member of Parliament for Southern St. James and rescuing the constituency from the clutches of 31 years and 7 months, which equates to 7 terms of underdevelopment and below par representation. Allow me to make special mention of my management team, supervisors, and the over 800 party workers, and the over 7,350 voters who supported me in that election. I am grateful, I am humble, and I thank them. It would be remiss of me if I didn't express gratitude to our leader, party leader, the most honorable Prime Minister of Jamaica, Andrew Michael Holness, for the confidence he bestowed in me and allow me to represent the party in Southern St. James, even after losing the 2011 general election and coming close in 2016. Today, Madam Speaker, I say thanks to the Prime Minister. As I believe, instead of being a third time lucky, I was third time blessed by a true and living God whom we serve. Thanks also to Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, the Honorable Desmond McKenzie, who has wholeheartedly embraced me as his junior minister and has been given the highest level of support as we work to bring prosperity to more Jamaicans. Madam Speaker, Minister McKenzie and I collectively served at the local government level as councillors and as mayor for over 50 years. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, Minister McKenzie served 38 years, 8 of which were mayor of the city of Kingston. I, Madam Speaker, served 13 years as councillor, 4 of which I served as the mayor of the fastest developing city in the Caribbean, Montego Bay. It is my firm belief, Madam Speaker, that during this time, when the fight against COVID is on in earnest, Jamaica's local government and rural development ministry and operations are in safe and caring hands. The Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development touches lives of every Jamaican, and I know Minister McKenzie shares the vision that this ministry will, as sizzlers say, rise to the occasion and become the premier ministry of this and future JLP administration. Madam Speaker, how could I not thank my lovely wife, Dr. Carleen Grant Davis, and my children for their understanding and support as I participated in the electoral process at various levels, especially at this time when I am away from home even much more often than previously. Niagara. Thanks to my personal assistant, Ms. Francine Lawrence, my CPO, Mr. Gary Mills, and my driver, Mr. Desmond Chin, who was always right there with me, giving the necessary support. I must express appreciation to my 2 sitting councillors, Everest Coke of the Maroon Town Division and Gregor Wint of the Welcome All Division, as well as my 2 caretakers, Desmond Chin of the Catadupa Division and Dean Corodos of the Cambridge Division for their unwavering support. Madam Speaker, the constituency of Southern St. James makes up 54% of the land mass of the parish of St. James. Madam Speaker, it spreads over 325 square kilometers with a population of close to 40,000, 27,000 of which are on the voters list. The constituency is home to 14 primary schools and 3 high schools, with over 3,000 students registered at the primary level and 4,500 at the high school level. Madam Speaker, Southern St. James is primarily a farming constituency and can be regarded as the breadbasket constituency of St. James. Farmers are mostly engaged in cultivating crops such as bananas, pineapples, vegetables, and tubers, to include yam and dasheen. And Madam Speaker, just for information, Southern St. James holds the distinction of being the largest producer of pineapple, bananas, and dasheen in Western Jamaica. Madam Speaker, this constituency is also the home to livestock farmers who are engaged in cattle and small ruminant rearing, with others involved in small grocery shop operations, craft productions, and trade such as carpentry, masonry, tailoring, mechanics, dressmaking, hairdressing, taxi operator, and in the hotel industry. While we are very happy that some citizens are able to find their own source of employment and engagement, Madam Speaker, like many other constituencies, Southern St. James has its fair share of unemployment and unattached youth. The youth cohort has an unemployment rate of 42%, with 60% of that figure being female and 40% being male. Madam Speaker, since becoming the Member of Parliament a year ago, my team and I have embarked on a rescue mission for St. James Southern, which is built on pillars such as infrastructural development, education, job creation and training, security, agricultural development, development of the micro and small business sector, and an upgrading of the health facilities in the constituency. Madam Speaker, in accepting the mantle to lead the constituency of Southern St. James, I also accepted the challenges and the underdevelopment which exist. However, I am not prepared to look in the rearview mirror and spend time on the 31 years and 7 months of non-performance by my predecessor, but to focus on the needs of the people, to serve them without a shred of political color or interference, and to ensure that they receive their fair share of prosperity of this Andrew Holness-led administration. To borrow a phrase from our beloved late former Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Edward Philip George Seaga, I possess the vim, the vigor, and vitality to do the job of making Southern St. James a model constituency, not just in St. James, but in Jamaica. Madam Speaker, follow me as I give an update on the work which has been done in the last 365 days. Through representation at the highest level, we have been working to upgrade several water systems in the constituency, to include Cambridge, Endeavour, Bondon, Tangle River, Vaughansfield, and Norwood in Niagara. It pains me, Madam Speaker, to report that these systems have been largely neglected over the last 30 years, which has resulted in the asbestos and galvanized pipes which were laid to take water to the citizens now being in a state of disrepair, starving the residents of the precious commodity. There's a saying that water is life. So in restoring these systems, we will ensure that life returns to the residents. Completion of these projects will put an end to the residents walking miles to collect a jug of water. At Grand, the water supply system, Madam Speaker, in Stonehenge, a new pump was installed and the water lines are being repaired and relayed as we speak through a partnership between the National Water Commission and Rural Water Supply Limited. Madam Speaker, I am happy to announce that the tender process for the long-awaited multi-million-dollar water supply scheme, which will take water from Shetwood in and over to Anchovy, was recently done by the Jamaica Social Investment Fund. This project, when completed, will see an improvement of potable water supply in the communities of Bickerstead, Mount Carey, Mount Pelia, Roehampton, Anchovy, Comforthall, and Lawson, among other areas. Madam Speaker, we have installed new water pipes from Shortwood to Retrieve, which has now afforded the citizens to have a reliable portable water supply in their communities. The project was done through another partnership with the National Water Commission and Rural Water Supply Limited. Madam Speaker, today I use this platform to recommend that a water czar be appointed to monitor water sources which are owned and managed by NWC, especially in rural Jamaica. Where it is most difficult to maintain a proper water supply system and where most of these systems has fallen into disrepair. It is full time the National Water Commission and its operatives start paying keen attention to the rural areas where their infrastructure is located. Madam Speaker, the Jamaica Public Service Company is in the process of installing the ramming system in the Copperwood area of Bickerstead to ensure a better and more reliable power supply to the residents of this community. Through the partnership of Jamaica Social Investment Fund, we are ensuring that 100 households have their houses properly wired and certified by the government electrical inspector in order to receive electricity. I am, however, not pleased with the work of the Jamaica Public Service Company in some communities, as oftentimes the company's infrastructure
Madam Speaker, the member's time, as is indicated, is expired. I move that you offer the member enough time to complete his presentation. Yes?
Okay.
The question before the House is that the member be given sufficient time to complete his presentation. Those in favour?
Thank you.
Those against? The ayes have it.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, colleagues. I am, however, not pleased with the work of the Jamaica Public Service Company in some communities, as oftentimes the company's infrastructure falls into disrepair, and despite reports after reports, JPS sometimes take months and even years to attend to the problem. These issues include rotting, broken and leaning poles and malfunctioning streetlights. Madam Speaker, with the government still owning 20% of JPSCO, pressure must be brought on the company to perform at its optimum, especially since it's a common knowledge that this government has paid JPS all outstanding streetlight bills. Hence, better service is required. Road rehabilitation in my constituency, Madam Speaker. I have rehabilitated and patched several roads across the constituency during our first year in office. The roads are Anchovy to Cambridge, Garlands to Mucko, and Marchmont to Washwood Gully. I must inform this Honourable House that a $60 million road rehabilitation program will continue on these roads, and I must say thanks to Minister Warmington. Marchmont to Washwood Gully, Garlands to Mucko, Anchovy to Mount Oreb, Springfield to Barnet Bush. These works are set to commence shortly. In addition, Madam Speaker, the following roads were rehabilitated during the past year: Shortwood Road in Catadupa, Mother Lane in Retrieve, Pimento Hill in Maroontown. In addition, repairs are set to commence shortly on the Point to Maroontown Road and the Maroontown to Vaughansfield Road, as well as Crosier Mountain in Roehampton. Madam Speaker, farm roads rehabilitation works were carried out in Brockhart Road in Richmond Hill, Bickerstead, and Millerswood in Arcadia. The following agricultural roads are set to be repaired shortly: Garlands to Cold Spring, Richmond Hill to Mafuta, and Plum in Cambridge. We have upgraded the Vaughansfield housing scheme, roads and other infrastructure at a cost of nearly $40 million. And I must say a big thanks to the Prime Minister for launching this project, which seeks to upgrade the infrastructure of housing scheme built in the formative years of the National Housing Trust. Prime Minister, the citizens of Vaughansfield Housing Scheme have asked me to express thanks to you on their behalf for the project, and are extending an invitation to you to come and tour the scheme and look at the fruits of your initiative. Madam Speaker, the former South African leader and freedom fighter, Nelson Mandela, once said, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." And as Member of Parliament for Southern St. James, education is priority one on my agenda as it relates to human development. I am happy to announce that the Universal Service Fund will shortly install 3 community access points, one in Catadupa, Maroontown, and Mount Carey, to provide citizens, especially students, with access to Wi-Fi service in order to participate in online learning. Through the Ministry of Education Own Device Program, we received 192 applications from parents of students, of which 132 were approved, processed, and delivered. This at a cost of $2.6 million. In addition, through the Serve Jamaica Digital Device Program under the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Education, we submitted 100 names for support at a cost of $3 million, still awaiting that delivery. Madam Speaker, through the Constituency Development Fund, 12 laptops and 40 tablets were bought and presented to students at a cost of $4.5 million. We also supported 49 tertiary level students with tuition grant at a cost of over $2.5 million. We have provided book vouchers for primary and high school students to the tune of $3 million. Madam Speaker, we will be rewarding 74 students for their outstanding performance in the recent sitting of the PEP examination, presentation with book vouchers and other school supplies to the tune of $1.5 million, Madam Speaker. Only a few days ago, Madam Speaker, we received confirmation from Vistaprint, a BPO company operating in Montego Bay, which will be partnering with the Roehampton Primary School, myself as a Member of Parliament, and Councillor Gregory Wint from the Welcome All Division in installing a free internet hub system for students and teachers at the Roehampton Primary School and citizens of the community. I must express appreciation to the management of Vistaprint for their support. This is what true private sector, public sector partnership is about. Madam Speaker, as I indicated earlier, Southern St. James is the breadbasket of the parish of St. James. Madam Speaker, over 275 farmers have been benefited from donation of fertilizer, seeds, baby chicks, feeds, farming tools, and chemical at a cost of $2.5 million, and there is much more to come. Madam Speaker, it is my intention to continue working very closely with the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries in improving the farms and farming techniques, and also increase market opportunities for our farmers. Madam Speaker, in Southern St. James, there is still thousands of hectares of arable lands waiting on farmers to dig in. We have fully embraced the long-standing pledge of grow what you eat and eat what you grow. It is my view also, Madam Speaker, that the constituency is ripe for the construction of an agricultural processing plant which will assist in preserving the shelf life of the farmers' produce. Former Minister of State in the Agricultural Minister, my friend, J.C. Hutchinson's vision for the agri-processing sector was to grow what you eat what you grow, and can what you can't eat. We are indeed playing our part in helping to ensure Jamaica's food security. Madam Speaker, there is no place like home. And through the CDF, we have made housing support grant to some 44 recipients to the tune of $1.2 million. We have also received support through the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, and were able to assist some 54 residents at a cost of $1.5 million. And I must thank Minister Charles for his input in making sure that some of our people can be assisted. Madam Speaker, the request for housing assistance continues to outstrip our financial resources that we are allowed through CDF. Madam Speaker, about 50% of the housing stock in my constituency is made from board and ply. Today, I want to make a recommendation that persons who are living in these houses across the island and who are contributors to the National Housing Trust must be given a one-off grant to effect repairs on their houses where possible. Madam Speaker, a number of these residents either rent or lease the land on which they have constructed their homes. And having been living there with their families for years, it is my view that once they are up to date in their NHT contribution, they could be qualified for a one-off support grant. In an effort to ensure that this fund is properly used, the NHT should be the implementing agency for works to be done. Madam Speaker, in speaking about housing in the constituency, I could not address this honourable House without a word on my pet subject, which is the establishment of 2 mini fire stations in the constituency. Over the years, residents have suffered great losses, to include the loss of lives as a result of fire and other unfortunate incidents. Today, I repeat my intention to have 2 mini fire stations established, one in Maroon Town and one in Cambridge, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Maroon Town is 40 minutes from Montego Bay. Cambridge is 30 minutes from Montego Bay. the establishment of these mini stations outfitted with basic firefighting equipment and an ambulance will attend to any emergency until the bigger units arrive from Montego Bay, saving lives and property. Emergency welfare, and Minister Samuda is not here. 60 residents of the constituency receive support under the Emergency and Welfare Program at a cost of $1.7 million. In addition, we have reached out to over 2,500 residents, delivering care package at a cost of over $6 million. Madam Speaker, the expression of appreciation and look of happiness on the faces of those who have received support from our program has given us the necessary energy to continue the work. We work very closely with the Ministry of Labour and Social Security in supplying the necessary assistance to players in the micro and small business sector. Through the support, some 150 small business operators have been assisted with cash grants to the tune of $3 million, whilst an additional 150 care packages have been delivered. Madam Speaker, Southern St. James was once a quiet constituency. However, over the years, things have changed and we have seen a steady increase in homicide. This challenge could be the result of the high level of unemployment among the youth in the constituency, and as the saying goes, the devil always finds work for idle hands. We are on a mission to change this and have been working with several state agencies to include our trust, NSTA, in providing training in various skills which will make the citizens employable. In addition, boots on the ground could also play a role in curbing crime and violence, and so I am moving for at least one additional police station to be established in the constituency. The proposal, Madam Speaker, is that the teacher's cottage at Niagara Primary School, which has been unoccupied for some time, should be retrofitted and converted into a police station to accommodate members of the security forces. This proposed police station will complement those already exist in the constituency, Anchovy, Cambridge, and Maroontown, which, in my view, are inadequate to serve a constituency of that size with a population of 40,000. Madam Speaker, the mission to focus on high numbers of unattached youth in the constituency will continue to receive priority attention, as we cannot afford to continue to lose our future leaders to crime and violence. Madam Speaker, I would not do justice in this presentation if I did not recognize and congratulate the hard-working Minister of National Security and Deputy Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Horace Chang, for the work being done to cauterize crime and violence, equip the security forces, and to bring new technologies to crime fighting. Madam Speaker, Jamaica's crime challenge did not happen overnight, and there's no silver bullet that can be used to fix it. This is work in progress, and I urge everyone to be patient and support the work of the security forces. Madam Speaker, finding employment for our citizens is one such way through which crime and violence can be reduced. At this point, I must express appreciation to the work being done by Mr. Tourism, our tourism minister, the Honorable Edmund Bartlett, in ensuring that visitors are still coming to Jamaica. The tourism industry employs a major chunk of Jamaica's workforce, and based on information coming out of the Ministry of Tourism, several new hotels constructions are due to start soon. The stopover visitors' arrival figures are looking good. Cruise tourism is set to take off again, and all the subsectors are on the rise. This means a number of my constituents who are now employed in the tourism sector and those who are seeking employment can be assured that if they are not yet in a job, very soon one will be available as Jamaica's hospitality sector recovers even stronger. Madam Speaker, as we continue to fight the negative effects of COVID-19 pandemic, I must express my appreciation to the work being done by the Ministry of Health and Wellness, led by Minister Dr. the Honorable Christopher Tufton. In the same breath, on behalf of my constituents, I must say thanks for selecting Mount Carey Health Center as a permanent COVID-19 vaccination center which operates every Tuesday. While the fight continues to get citizens to take the job, today I call on my constituents to vax up and allow us to return to life. Madam Speaker, the name Sam Sharp is synonymous with Southern St. James. We will be working with all concerned in getting the annual Sam Sharp celebration at Tulloch Castle back on track as soon as COVID-19 allows us. In addition to Sam Sharp celebration, we are moving to rename the Springfield Primary School as Sam Sharp Primary School. Madam Speaker, except for Sam Sharp Square and Sam Sharp Teachers College, which are located in downtown Montego Bay, there's nothing in Southern St. James that bears the name of the national hero who is from Southern St. James and who played a major role in winning our freedom, not only here in Jamaica, but across the Caribbean. Madam Speaker, I end where I started. Southern St. James, under my watch, will become a model constituency. We will continue to make education of the citizen our #1 priority. We will continue to focus on improving the water supply, electricity, and road infrastructure. We will continue to create training opportunities and jobs for the citizens. We will continue to support our farmers and creating marketing opportunities for them. We will redouble our effort in the fight against crime. Madam Speaker, there is no time to look in the rearview mirror, as our eyes are transfixed on bringing prosperity to the people of Southern St. James. We are aware of the challenges which we have inherited. Fix them we must, Madam Speaker. Fix them we will. Madam Speaker, the work is far from over. Today I repeat a commitment which I made to the citizens of Southern St. James when I first went there as a Jamaica Labour Party representative over 15 years ago. I said, I am committed to be your servant. I will not leave you, neither will I forsake you. Madam Speaker, thank you, and God bless you all, and God bless Jamaica.
Madam Speaker, I think that was a very comprehensive report of strong stewardship, and congratulations to the Member of Parliament for a job in his constituency that is being well done. Madam Speaker, the next speaker is the member from
Trelawny North, my neighbor. And I give me great pleasure, Madam Speaker, to ask. I think you're familiar with that member too. Yeah? To ask the Member of Parliament, Tova Hamilton, to make her presentation.
Madam Speaker, I crave your indulgence to address this honorable House from a seat that is not my own.
Go ahead.
Madam Speaker, journey with me to the year 1770, to a place where sugar was king, a place recorded as having the most sugar estates and factories and was the highest producer of sugar island-wide. This pivot around sugar led to its second capital being established in 1790, a capital that fast became one of the busiest ports on the North Coast and arguably one of the most vibrant towns. This prosperous town that was built in accordance with the Gridiron Plan boasted hotels, department stores, craftsmen such as goldsmiths, tinsmiths, gunsmiths, and carriage makers, and provided a good living for many. With the prevailing price for sugar being around £50 per ton, it was the richest sugar area in Jamaica. By the early 1900s, however, a fall in the price of sugar on the world market resulted in the decline of the sugar industry and a corresponding decline of the capital. Madam Speaker, it has been reported in a number of historical journals that as early as 1890, Falmouth was practically a ghost town. It begs the questions, where were the leaders? And why has history been repeating itself? Madam Speaker, we are not makers of history. We're made by history. And it was Marcus Mosiah Garvey who said, "A people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots." It is this history and the more than 100 years of Falmouth literally falling off the map and out of focus why we are brought here today. Madam Speaker, it is with great pride that I stand here to reclaim those lost years and reintroduce the people of Jamaica to a place I hold very dear to my heart. A place I believe possesses all the raw materials to recover our prosperity. A place I envision as the gateway to our collective economic growth. A place characterized by well-preserved Georgian architecture with its brick, stone, and timber features that immediately transports you back to the 18th century. A place so rich and diverse in its heritage that in 1985, under the Jamaica Heritage Trust Act, a section of Falmouth was declared a protected national heritage site. A place with lush foliage, verdant countrysides, pristine beaches, and rivers that flow for days. A place that is home to some of the most attractive sites you will ever encounter. Sites such as the 1744 Good Hope Estate, the famous St. Peter's Anglican Church built in 1796, the first ever Masonic temple built in 1798, the Bunkers Hill Cultural Experience, and the Luminous Lagoon, which is one of 4 such locations in the world, and the only one where the luminary reaction can be seen 365 days of the year. A place where it appears many men were called in the past to lead, but only one woman has to date been chosen to provide visionary leadership. A place where mysteries have been unveiled, as on September 3, 2020, in a resounding 8,568 votes, with a margin of 1,761, the impossible became possible. For the first time in my certain history, Madam Speaker, a right became wrong. Madam Speaker, it is the place from which I hail and stand as a proud product and servant leader, where young men and women from D-Side, Drumley, Bunkers Hill, Wakefield, Calabar, Prospect, Spicy Hill, Kinloss, Doanvale, and Falmouth can feel inspired to dream big and do great things, because I stand here as a manifestation of what is possible for them. I speak of none other than the picturesque, unspoiled, panoramic, enchanting constituency of Trelawny Northern. Madam Speaker, permit me at this time, as a student of history, to document some of the legacies of my predecessors in an attempt to contextualize the pain and suffering of the resilient and devoted people of Trelawny Northern over the past 31 lost years. The lack of proper road infrastructure in more than 40 communities, along with the following main corridors: Rio Bueno to Jacksontown, Duncans to Long Pond, Duncans to Carey Park, Clarkstown to Kinloss, Martha Brae to Kinloss, D-Side to Drumley, Friendship to Wakefield, Hamden to Wakefield, Saltmarsh to Kent, Cooperspen to Rock, and the road having the greatest notoriety, Falmouth to Springvale. The inconsistent or non-existent water supply, in some instances for as much as 50 years, in communities such as Bounty Hall, Calabar, Samuel Prospect, Jacksontown, Duncans, Crawl, Spicy Hill, Doanvale, Fontebelle, Peru, Bunkers Hill, Cave Island, Danieltown, New Cargan, Perthtown, and Greenmount. The lack of access to education, the dire need for electrification in communities like Greenmount, Mackhill, Kinloss, and the Newtown. Issues of land titling, the lack of community development, the lack of indigent housing, the lack of broadband services, the lack of MSME support, the lack of employment opportunities, the lack of agricultural support, and little to no youth engagement. Madam Speaker, I understand all too well the value of taking instructions, and I was tasked to deliver this presentation within a specified time frame. It is why I am not at liberty to delve any further into this mammoth legacy of nothingness. Madam Speaker, you can fool all the people some of the time, and some of the people all the time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. With a legacy like this, I believe it is fair to conclude that the last 31 years have been 31 years of tomfoolery. Madam Speaker, the business of Trelawny Northern could not continue on autopilot, because we know all too well, where there is no vision, there is no hope. With such a turbulent history and the obvious need for intervention, I have taken the responsibility to provide visionary leadership with the greatest level of sincerity, passion, and determination. Madam Speaker, we can't change history, but we can shape our future. For us in Trelawny Northern, the future is not a place we want to go. It's a place we want to create. It is my fervent mission to leapfrog Trelawny Northern from its 1890 state of decline to that of a 21st century model constituency. The road to recovery over the last year has been filled with many bumps, craters, and potholes, but many a time taken us off the beaten path where the journey was anything but smooth. Despite the obstacles, however, we have maintained the course because we know that difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations. Madam Speaker, it is often said that the road to development begins with a road. If you should ponder on this statement, you will find that it is quite profound, as roads are the arteries through which an economy pulses. They link purveyors to markets, workers to jobs, students to schools, the sick to hospital. If we believe this mantra, it would mean that roads are vital to any development agenda. Yes. Now, if that premise holds true, based on the state of our roads, the only logical conclusion to be made is that there has been no development agenda for Trelawny Northern in a very long time. Based on the need for deliberate strategic development and the knowledge of the magnitude of work to be done, there was swift action to recover through rehabilitation and patching exercises the worst sections of the following roads: Wakefield, Bounty Hall, Kettering, Danieltown, Granville, Holland, Panarsus, Perthtown, Darridu, Martha Bray, the Georgia Main Road leading to Samuel Prospect, and the Duncans Main Road. Madam Speaker, the more extensive works carried out in the communities of Bunkers Hill and the Calabar left residents in awe. They recounted that the last time they were given any such attention was as far back as the 1980s. I must hasten to inform the House that these works previously identified were not done with additional funding allocated to the constituency, but were done with resources that were available to my predecessor that he simply had no interest to use. Funding that collectively amounted to more than $50 million. Madam Speaker, clearly, one man's loss is this woman's gain. Through the National Housing Trust Scheme Upgrading Program, rehabilitation of roads in the Vanzilans community was completed during the period at a cost of approximately $38 million. Madam Speaker, allocations have been made through the Constituency Development Fund and the Spruce Up Jamaica program for repairs to be undertaken to the Reserve Main Road and Pitt Street in Falmouth, respectively. These works, which are expected to cost a total of approximately $6.3 million, should start within a month. Further allocations have also been made to repair the Mountain Hill Road through the Farm Road program at a cost of approximately $6 million. This project is also quite advanced, as a contract has already been signed for works to begin. Madam Speaker, it gives me great pleasure to announce that through sustained advocacy of the Minister with responsibility for works, the following projects with allocations amounting to some $325 million have been approved and are at various stages of procurement. Rio Bueno to Jacksontown, Saltmarsh to Kent, D-side to Drumley, Falmouth to Springvale, the Martha Bray leg, Falmouth to Springvale, the Wakefield to D-side leg, and the construction of a box culvert at the Perthtown fording. Madam Speaker, there is absolutely no cost that will be too great for the recovery of my beloved Trelawny Northern. It was in 1799 that the locals petitioned for the establishment of a proper water supply system to serve the town of Falmouth. It became one of the first areas in the island to enjoy piped water, which was pumped from the center of the town at Water Square up until 1950. Of interest is the fact that Falmouth enjoyed piped water before New York City, which was sourced from the Martha Brae River. The Martha Brae River, Madam Speaker, that now supplies potable water to residents in the parishes of St. Anne and St. James, yet so many communities in this constituency are still without the precious commodity, leaving residents to question whether water is really life. Madam Speaker, to support residents impacted by the lack of water supply, my office has made water available through trucking and donated in excess of 38 black tanks as a temporary measure, because we believe for every problem there is a solution. Yes. Notwithstanding the challenges, our advocacy has yielded positive responses from the National Water Commission as works have been undertaken to expand their service and improve distribution. The recent completion of Phase 1 of the Wakefield to Bunkers Hill pipeline replacement project has improved water supply to residents of Wakefield, Friendship, and Bunkers Hill at a cost of approximately $69 million.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the member's time, having looked at what is here, be extended sufficiently to allow her to finish her presentation. May I please?
The question before the House is that the member be given sufficient time to complete her presentation. Those in favour? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
The second phase of this project, Madam Speaker, is at the design stage and is expected to be undertaken within the next financial year. Madam Speaker, works on the $200 million Dornoch and Greater Dornoch water supply rehabilitation and upgrading project began in April 2021. Upon completion in February 2022, the residents of Brampton, Calabar, and the Samuel Prospect will, after more than 39 years, stand to benefit. The Martha Brae River has the capacity to produce 11 million gallons of water per day, but currently only produces 8 million gallons, resulting from an insufficient power supply at intake. In an effort to yield full capacity, a contract has been awarded to upgrade the power supply to the facility. These works should be completed by the end of January 2022 and will allow the NWC to better serve its customers. The residents of Bounty Hall are at their wits' end with the inconsistent water supply to their communities over the last 50 years. Damage to the pumping unit at the Bounty Hall relift happens too frequently, to the frustration of residents. Upon my appeal to the Minister with responsibility for water, 2 new pumps, duty and standby, have been approved to be installed within the next 4 to 6 months to ensure improved reliability. Madam Speaker, for more than 60 years, the residents of Greenmount have been appealing to successive representatives for assistance to develop their community. Wow. I was the first representative to ever visit the community, and I was immediately moved to act. Wow. My appeal to the Jamaica Social Investment Fund for intervention was met with a quick response and approval for the electrification of more than 100 households, to the marvel and delight of all residents. Wonderful. Madam Speaker, come Christmas 2021, we will be changing the lives of the Greenmount residents by powering them with love and light. Madam Speaker, the benefits of education are many. It is a powerful agent of change that contributes to social stability and drives long-term economic growth. There is no investment in education that won't yield high dividends, and so it has been a long-time focus of mine. The education program over the last year has seen 106 students benefiting from tuition grants, 139 students from school bags, textbooks, and stationery, and over 220 tablets distributed to students through both public and private sector support. The total spend on education to date amounts to $8.5 million and includes the cost of an additional 50 tablets currently being procured through the Constituency Development Fund. We also eagerly await the 100 tablets to be supplied by the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. Madam Speaker, the COVID-19 pandemic has caused some amount of displacement in our society, and our most vulnerable have not been spared. This has triggered responses from various ministries of government and have served as welcome additions to the regular funding made available through the Constituency Development Fund. Collectively, these responses have made the following provisions available: 33 funeral grants, 22 medical grants, 100 compassionate grants, 75 entrepreneurial grants, 149 billing grants, and 2,474 care packages that were funded through both public and private sector. The total spend to date amounts to more than $13.2 million. Madam Speaker, I must thank the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation for responding to my request for the provision of indigent housing to one lucky family in Wakefield. This project is currently underway and is expected to be completed within a month. Through the new social housing program administered by the Hope Unit, an additional 3 projects are to be undertaken that are at various stages of procurement. Madam Speaker, never before has there been an ongoing bushing of communities than we have done in the last year. This type of heightened maintenance has also been extended to spaces such as the Falmouth Cemetery, Victoria Park, and a number of community playfields. Efforts have also been made to keep our drains clean. Madam Speaker, a submission has been made to the Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, which will see improvements to the Bounty Hall Community Centre, home to the famous Harmony Football Club, and similar works being undertaken to complete the almost 20-year-old unfinished community centre in Falmouth Gardens. Wakefield, Duncans, thank you, Minister. Wakefield, Duncans, and Clarkstown have been approved by the Universal Service Fund for the installation of community Wi-Fi. Similar approval was also previously given for a free public Wi-Fi hotspot to be commissioned in the town of Falmouth. Madam Speaker, history shows that agriculture has been the main focus of Trelawny Northern's economy for centuries. Unfortunately, there is little to really show for this dominance today, due inter alia to the rise and corresponding fall of King Sugar, the historical dependence on that commodity, and poor leadership. Madam Speaker, we are still convinced of the vital role agriculture plays in the life of any economy, but our past experiences must never be ignored in the shaping of our future. It is because of this conviction why we are in the process of assisting more than 113 farmers with various agricultural inputs to improve current levels of agricultural productivity. I welcome the opportunity to provide even greater assistance to our Trelawny Northern farmers. Madam Speaker, my vision is to see my hometown realize its truest potential and for Falmouth to once again take its rightful place among the greatest. And since the vision is clear, the strategy is easy. With the rehabilitation of our roads, improvements to our water supply, electrification of our communities, expansion of our housing stock, investment in education, the provision of broadband services, and greater levels of agricultural productivity, we are well on our way to creating our future. A future, Madam Speaker, that will forever be green and prosperous. Madam Speaker, this journey was only made possible by the diligent and the supportive people of Trelawny Northern, to whom I owe a debt of gratitude. Permit me to specially acknowledge the leadership of the Jamaica Labour Party, the electorate, our party workers, my support team, some of whom are here in the gallery today, and my family. Madam Speaker, as I continue along this road to recovery, I pray the Almighty will forever grant me wisdom, protection, and good health. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, this truly is a fulsome report from a diligent and hard-working and effective Member of Parliament. Madam Speaker, we are closing in on the activities of today, and I now ask you to invite the member from Westmoreland Western, Mr. Moreland Wilson, to make his presentation.
Madam Speaker, would you permit me to speak from a seat that is not my own?
Certainly. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. Madam Speaker, I was sent here by the people of Westmoreland Western with a message. They waited some 31 years to have a representative stand here and speak on their behalf. Right? Madam Speaker, I must first give thanks and praise to Almighty God for His guidance on my journey thus far. I want to also thank our Prime Minister, the Honourable Andrew Michael Holness, party leader, and the caucus of the Jamaica Labour Party for the opportunity to represent the people of Westmoreland Western. I must express thanks and appreciation to the late former Prime Minister Honourable Edward Seaga and the former Prime Minister Bruce Golding for their illuminating guidance on my political journey. To my friends and family, I say a big thank you for your unwavering commitment and support. To my beloved people of Westmoreland Western, September 3, 2020 will forever be etched in my heart because on that historical day, you bestowed on me the honor to serve you, to lead the charge in making the constituency of Westmoreland Western the place where you can live, raise your family, and do business. To my sitting councillor, Councillor Murray, Councillor Caretaker Basil Thompson, Carlos Cook, Altricia Maitland, and Owen James Jr., to my executive and management teams, and our hard-working political workers of the constituency, I thank you. Madam Speaker, I rise today as the proud and rightful Member of Parliament representing the people of the constituency of Westmoreland Western. Madam Speaker, in making my first of many contributions to come to the State of the Constituency debate in this Honourable House, I want to place on record that I have not taken lightly the mandate given to me by the people of the constituency, especially the fact that they have had no proper representation nor leadership for several decades until now. Madam Speaker, we believe that a partnership with the people is necessary to take this constituency into a glorious future where the citizens have tangible jobs to provide for themselves and their families. We are restoring hope in the constituency where the opportunities are many, where hard work and productivity result in prosperity for all, a constituency where the workforce is educated and skilled, where each and every citizen can enjoy a high standard of living. Madam Speaker, we are building a stronger and better constituency with the people as the architects, engineers, and designers, so that residents can once again live in peace and harmony. A place where our culture can flourish, where our children are cared for, and where family life is celebrated. Madam Speaker, Westmoreland Western is one of the great assets of Jamaica. As such, I'm on a mission to transform the lives of the people of this great constituency, giving families more security, boosting the self-esteem and confidence of our young people, and providing hope and opportunities for those in need. Madam Speaker, over the past 9 months, Westmoreland became the epicenter for COVID-19 virus. We'll recall in January 2021, Westmoreland had one of the highest infection rates in the country, warranting a special 2-week lockdown. Again, in July 2021, during the infamous third wave, the parish was again under the microscope, with our numbers being amongst the highest in the country. However, in all those circumstances, with united leadership, the people of Westmoreland conformed and brought down our numbers significantly. Madam Speaker, Westmoreland had 3 vaccination big sessions, which saw vaccination shuttles being provided during the lockdown days. To date, of the total population of 144,000, 33,000 Westmorelandites have been vaccinated and counting. Over 24,000 received their first dosage, and over 9,000 are fully vaccinated. Madam Speaker, with a donation from the Minister of Health and Wellness to members of Parliament, I distributed approximately 3,000 masks between January and February of this year, and we continue our appeal for everyone to get vaccinated. Madam Speaker, our vaccination efforts are being hampered by implementation inefficiencies. Some $42 million was disbursed as far back as 2017 to construct the matron's quarter and mail ward at the Sablamine Infirmary. 3 years later, the project is still incomplete, with 20+ social cases occupying much-needed beds within the hospital. Madam Speaker, as a representative of my people, I would like to see this project recalled, dismissing the contractor and new arrangements made. Madam Speaker, the people deserve better. The people deserve a system that works for them. Madam Speaker, despite these circumstances, I want to thank the Chairman of the Regional Health Authority, our healthcare workers, and other stakeholders who work consistently to keep our numbers down and Jamaica safe. Madam Speaker, in consultation with key stakeholders in the constituency, we will be making recommendations to the Ministry of Health and Wellness for the Negril Health Centre to be upgraded to a Type A medical facility, thereby enabling 24-hour operation. Madam Speaker, several partners have already committed their support. Among them are the Negril Chamber of Commerce, the Issa Trust, the Rotary Club of Negril, who, in partnership with Sister Rotarian Club in Calgary, Canada, have donated $107,000, which is currently being used to do rehabilitation work on the building. Madam Speaker, I want to put on record my appreciation to our Honourable Prime Minister for the CARE programme, which allowed me as Member of Parliament to help constituents in need through the provision of over 3,000 CARE grants and over 3,000 CARE packages and 300 CARE grants during the height of the COVID pandemic. Madam Speaker, I go on to roads. Madam Speaker, I inherited a constituency that is plagued with poor road conditions. My constituents complain bitterly about roadways from Locust Street to Bath Mountain, Townhead to Blackness, Truro to Grange Hill, Grange Hill to Glasgow, Delfland to Moreland Hill, and Little London to Grange Hill. Madam Speaker, I would like to report to this Honourable House and to my constituents that $60 million of their tax dollars will be spent shortly to rehabilitate roadways Locust Street to Bath Mountain, Townhead to Blackness, and Grange Hill to Glasgow. Thanks to the partnership with Minister Woodard Portfolio and the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Minister Warmington, for making this possible. Madam Speaker, several motorists have sustained injuries and many have lost their lives along the Norman Manley Boulevard in Negril based on the condition of the road surface. Madam Speaker, this was due to a series of concrete medians that were installed nearly 10 years ago to reduce speeding, and due to their poor maintenance, these hard structures have contributed to numerous motor vehicle accidents on the roadway. Madam Speaker, since taking office of Member of Parliament, I have corrected these problems by having the National Works Agency install rumble strips, replacing these concrete medians. To this end, we are saving more lives because we have not seen any fatalities along that roadway since their installations. Madam Speaker, the new measures have been so successful to the point where calls are now being made for the rumble strips to install on the Western Road and the Numperl roadways in Negril. Madam Speaker, I want to say thanks to our Minister of Transport and Mining, he's absent, for opening the Negril Eardomes Fire Station and resurfacing the runway. Minister, I know you may be listening. We look forward to continuing discussion and upgrading the Negril Aerodrome to accommodate small jets. Madam Speaker, the constituency of Westmoreland Western has several low-lying and flood-prone areas. Communities such as Macneland, Bay Road, Egypt Garden, Nile, Nancy Pond and Broughton are consistently inundated when it rains. Madam Speaker, I want to report to this Honourable House that in addition to cleaning critical drains such as Margaret Gutter ahead of the hurricane season, National Works Agency conducted an assessment of the drainage system in Whitehall community in Negril and have submitted an estimate to construct a concrete culvert which will solve the long-standing issue of flooding in that community. Madam Speaker, residents and visitors alike dreamt about a sidewalk in West End Road in Negril for over 30 years, with some holding the view that it was an impossible feat. Today, however, I'm happy to report that Phase 1 of the sidewalk construction is near completion, which includes repavement of sections of the roadway and installation of new water mains leading to West End by National Water Commission. Madam Speaker, even with the natural gift of the Rowan River, there are over 18 communities that are without regular water supply in the constituency, from Moreland Hill to Orange Hill, from New Hope to Old Hope, from Bath Mountain to Jerusalem Mountain, from Albany to Alma, from Brighton to Broughton, Paul Island, Herring Peace, and sections of Blackness, and the list goes on. The challenge, Madam Speaker, is that 80% of the water, of the constituency water supply, comes from the Bullstrut treatment plant, which was built to supply some 3,000 residents, but now serving some 30,000. Water supplied by the plant is inconsistent at best. Since being elected into this Honourable House, Madam Speaker, one of my first tasks was to convene a meeting with the Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Senator Auburn Hill, where we identify a solution to what seems to be a generational problem. Madam Speaker, I'm delighted to inform this House of the Negril Water Improvement Project, which will see water being routed from Rowan River to Negril. The route of this new system will supply water to all the communities, eliminating chronic water shortages currently being experienced. I'm also happy to report that this project has been put to tender, where a contractor will be selected so that work can commence immediately thereafter. Madam Speaker, there is more good news. The Orange Hill water system is in its final stage of testing, and will be online soon, serving communities in Revival, Hopewell, and Brighton. Madam Speaker, there's a small community called Blackness, my hometown. There were sections without water for 30 years. Today, Madam Speaker, I'm reporting that as of July 2021, the laying of pipes have commenced, and with the National Water Commission now calling on residents to sign up to get their meters. Madam Speaker, I'm a big advocate of education. I firmly believe that every child deserves the best start in life. A good education is not a luxury. It's an economic imperative for a good paying job, a strong middle class, and an innovative workforce. Westmoreland Western has some 17 schools, which include Little Bay Primary, Broughton Primary, and Mount Airy Primary. All have risen to national fame. Karen King, the young, vibrant principal from Little Bay, was recognized for his innovation, dedication, and resilience during the height of the pandemic, when he hired a motorbike to deliver schoolwork to students.
And we gave him his helmets and his work back, yes.
Madam Speaker, while I visited all the schools in the constituency, I've also convened a meeting with all the principals to discuss the challenges and strategies for reaching our children and teacher fatigue for COVID with COVID-19. Madam Speaker, to date, some 180 tablets and laptops were distributed to children, 150 book vouchers, and 60 scholarships to university students across the constituency. It should be noted, Madam Speaker, that this is in addition to 250 tablets issued by the Ministry of Education and the 100 tablets to be distributed by the Serve Jamaica program. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the Minister of Science, Energy and Technology for for his continued leadership in the development of the Community Wi-Fi Hotspot Initiative, which allow for easy internet access for residents. Madam Speaker, this community Wi-Fi component is particularly important to my people. As of the 17 schools within the constituency, majority have poor internet service, while a few have none. On behalf of the people of Westmoreland Western, we thank you, Minister, but we would like you to check the budget and see whether you could include Negril in the free Wi-Fi initiative for major sites. Madam Speaker, the Jamaica Library Service played a huge part in expanding my thinking as a youth. It was a different time, and indeed, it was a time prior to the internet and widely accessible computers. I toured both the Negril and Granger libraries, and I must admit, both are in need of repairs. I am committed to working with the Jamaica Library Service to develop a sustainable model for service delivery in an evolving world. Madam Speaker, the EduChess Foundation was created to support the youths of Westmoreland Western and promote education and training. The foundation is led by a group of young, intelligent Jamaicans who are committed to the development
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the member's time be extended sufficient for him to complete his presentation. May it please you, Madam Speaker.
The question before the House is that the member's time be extended to allow him to complete his presentation. Those in favour? Those against? The ayes have it. Member?
Thank you, Madam Speaker and colleague members. Madam Speaker, the EduChess Foundation was created to support the youths of Westmoreland Western and to promote education and training. The foundation is led by a group of young, intelligent Jamaicans who are committed to the development of their communities in Jamaica. It focuses on developing a generation of technically sound students in maths, engineering, science, and computer literacy. The foundation has since commenced discussion with several educational institutions to explore training in computer coding, app development, and animation. Madam Speaker, it is also important to recognize the work of Cornerstone Jamaica Foundation, as they have adopted several schools within Western Jamaica, supplying them with tablet donations and free internet. Madam Speaker, the housing crisis in Westmoreland Western is now an emergency. With population growth and the decline in the sugar industry, removing thousands of hectares from production, and with the Jamaican dream of owning your own home, there are a multitude of informal settlements popping up right across the constituency. Land disputes are far too common and are totally avoidable once adequate leadership, urban planning, and demographic forecasting are done. Communities such as Little Bay, Top Lincoln, Prospect, Maysmere, Alma, and Numperl have seen rapid expansion of informal settlements. Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to inform this Honourable House that I have met with the Minister of Housing, Urban Renewal, Environment and Climate Change, and discussions have already started with the Housing Agency of Jamaica to lay plans for development in the constituency. Madam Speaker, our most vulnerable are not left behind. I want to say thanks to the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, who toured Westmoreland in July and initiated the construction of a new two-bedroom home for a family of 6 who are currently living in a one small-bedroom dwelling. Minister, as it was written in the good book, Proverbs 19, verse 17, whoever is kind to the poor lends to the Lord, and he will reward them for what they have done. Madam Speaker, climate change and the environment are of great importance to the resort community. The Negril Great Morass, which is the constituency's largest environmental asset, spans some 2,000 hectares, which is 5,000 acres, and accounts for approximately 1/5 of all the wetland areas in Jamaica. The Morass, Madam Speaker, is the second largest wetland in Jamaica and one of the largest natural coastal wetland ecosystems in the Caribbean. Madam Speaker, the Negril Environmental Protection Agency area covers approximately 271 square kilometers extending into Hanover and provides home to many diverse species of plants and animals, many of which are not found anywhere else in the world. We have the endemic Morus royal palm and the endangered West Indian whistling duck. It acts as a nursery for many marine organisms, thereby protecting our coastal communities against damage from storms, hurricanes, and floods. Madam Speaker, I continue to support the IWECO project, whose objective is to strengthen the management of the Negril EPA to ensure long-term sustainability of our wetland biological resources and support the Government of Jamaica laws for sustainable management of land, water, and ecosystem services. Madam Speaker, I have also met with the National Environmental and Planning Agency, the Negril Area Environmental Protection Trust, and the Negril and Green Island Area Local Planning Authority to discuss partnership with the Office of the Member of Parliament to devise strategies to curb destructive and unsustainable human practices such as slash and burn to clean land, cutting down of trees, and indiscriminate use of farm chemicals which put a strain on the natural resources of the area. Madam Speaker, I'm happy to report to this House that under the Memorandum of Understanding between TPDCO and TEF, a box truck valued at approximately $7 million was donated to Recycle Partners of Jamaica for collecting bottles from established collection points and depots for recycling in the western section of the island in Negril. Madam Speaker, this is a demonstration that this government continues to develop and find sustainable pathways for economic independence while preserving our environment. Madam Speaker, Jamaica is a country deeply invested in various sporting disciplines. It runs deep in our DNA, and we must seize the opportunities to move our country forward to be stronger together. Sports matters. It helps to define us. It inspires us. It entertains us. It is important to us both at the elite and the grassroots level. Westmoreland Western continues to add to the pool of talented sportsmen and women representing Jamaica internationally. Yes, we have the likes of Tina and Tia Clayton, who are graduates. Just this year, Tina Clayton ran her personal best time, 11.09 seconds, to win the 100-meter final at the World Athletics Under-20 Championship in Nairobi, Kenya, just 2 days after celebrating her 17th birthday. With such caliber of talent within the constituency, I've written to Sports Development Foundation requesting that they develop appropriate plans, policies, and programs for 3 sports playgrounds, Blackness and Prospect playgrounds, both in Friendship, and the Alan Ray Oval playground in Sheffield. Madam Speaker, I'm happy to report to this Honourable House and to my constituents that the Sports Development Foundation will commence a project at the Billide Playfield in Grangehill Division under a program known as the High School Sports Infrastructure Improvement Program. The program, Madam Speaker, was designed for former sugar-dependent areas and is funded by the European Union under the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries. I want to thank the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sports for identifying the Billide Playfield project, as it will greatly assist the Grangehill High School and wider community. Madam Speaker, I would like to make special commendation to the Ministry of Tourism, Minister Edmund Bartlett, CD, MP, for helping to transform sports tourism in my constituency. It was under his visionary leadership that the Negril Mini Stadium was constructed at a cost of $83 million by the Tourist Product Development Company Limited with funding from TEF. Today, Madam Speaker, the facility is available to the public and our visitors alike, following the official opening this past July. The facility, Madam Speaker, highlights the interconnectedness of tourism as a driver of economic growth, as well as a facilitator for social enrichment, growth, and development of our local communities. Madam Speaker, the Negril Beach Park is an area of concern. Over the years, several plans have been presented, but none has been put to action. Madam Speaker, I'll be seeking partnership with the Ministry of Tourism, Tourist Product Development Company Limited, and Tourist Enhancement Fund to develop the park with recreational areas similar to Emancipation Park to include access to the beach. Madam Speaker, Agriculture and tourism are the lifeblood of the citizens in Westmoreland Western and key engines of the local economy, sparking innovation, generating higher wage jobs, and strengthening entire communities. At this moment, I would like to express my deepest condolences to the family and friends of the Rada Parish Manager for Westmoreland, Ruan Vassell, and Secretary Barbara Dawson, who both did not recover from COVID. In my first meeting with Mr. Vassell, I shared a vision of reclaiming agricultural lands, sugar lands, to increase our production and productivity. I am now awaiting the appointment of a new parish manager to return to those plans. Madam Speaker, I want to report to this House that with the help of the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, over the past year, some 60 fisher folks got fishing supplies and gears, over 30+ black tanks distributed, and over $1 million worth of seedlings and fertilizer distributed to just under 100 farmers. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Labour and Social Security must be commended for the support extended to the constituency of Westmoreland Western on its overseas farm work program. Minister, he is not around, but I want this message to be delivered to him, that we hope that he will find a way to expand the program, as farm work cards are the most requested item from my office. In fact, I have a database with some 300 persons who are awaiting to go on the farm work program. Madam Speaker, hoteliers, residents, and visitors alike have been advocating for a fresh fruits and vegetable market, which has been stuck in the pipeline for some 20 years. I am pleased that, having toured the Negril market recently, the Honourable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development has set aside $75 million for the construction of the Negril fruits and vegetable market. Thank you, Minister. Madam Speaker, there was need to have the soil tested, and the Westmoreland Municipal Corporation, who will benefit from market fees, failed to cover the costs. Many thanks to the members of the Negril Chamber of Commerce who volunteered and paid the costs to test the soil, which form part of the requirement for final approval, groundbreaking, and construction. Madam Speaker, this is Jamaica agriculture sector recovering stronger together. Madam Speaker, Negril is an important asset to Jamaica. With some 6,500 hotel rooms and counting, our beautiful 7-Mile Beach employs over 10,000 workers, directly and indirectly, and continues to attract visitors from across the globe to experience the best of Jamaica. Madam Speaker, I'm reporting to this Honourable House that ground was broken for the construction of a $2 million Red Stripe Experience Museum in Negril, an indication of a positive trend and confidence that investors have in brand Jamaica. Madam Speaker, mention must be made of the craft vendors. Our Minister of Tourism proposed a new artisan village, which will benefit both vendors and community. There is also the issue of security. Negril has a closed-circuit television camera system covering the West End, Norman Manley Boulevard, and the Nonpareil roads towards the gas station. As is, the system is very effective. However, it needs updating. I stand ready to work with the Minister of National Security to ensure that they are rehabilitated with the very latest technology on the market. Madam Speaker, in closing my first State of the Constituency debate, I'm here with a clear, first of many, many. I stand here with a clear plan, courageous, undaunted by the challenges, optimistic that the will of the people is the way. Thank you. God bless this House. God bless the people of Jamaica. God bless Jamaica, land we love.
Yes. Well done, Madam Speaker. I think that we can truly say that this evening we have been treated with some powerful presentations from the future of Jamaica. So proud of these young players who have really excelled and have shown the stewardship that the people elected them to have and to give. And I'm proud of them, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's not intended to do any further business today. I therefore invite you to adjourn this Honourable House until Tuesday, October 12th at 2 p.m. When we will continue the State of the Nation, State of the Constituency debate. The speakers then will be the Honourable Robert Nestor Morgan, the member from Clarendon North Central, the Dr. Maurice Guy, the member for St. Mary Central, and Ms. Kerencia Morrison, the member for St. Catherine North Eastern. So, may it please you, Madam Speaker, to suspend the debate, therefore, until that date.
Members,
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Members, the question before the House. Members, the question before the House is that the State of the Constituency debate be suspended until next week, as well as the sitting of the House until next week, Tuesday. Those in favour? Those against? The ayes have it. This House is now adjourned.
How will policymakers and civil society fix the fractures across the world for our benefit? Will our leaders' coordinated advocacy